Thomas Jefferson's presidency marked a dramatic shift. As the leader of the Democratic-Republican Party, he sought to dismantle the Federalist system, championing a vision of limited federal government and an agrarian republic. The presidential election of 1800 was a bitter rematch between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. The election resulted in a tie between Jefferson and his running mate, Aaron Burr, throwing the decision into the Federalist-controlled House of Representatives. For 35 ballots, the House deadlocked. Alexander Hamilton, who viewed Burr as dangerous, intervened, persuading several Federalists to secure the presidency for his longtime rival Jefferson on the 36th ballot. Jefferson later referred to his victory as the Revolution of 1800. It represented the first peaceful transfer of power from one political party to its opposition in modern history, demonstrating the strength of the American constitutional system. Jefferson, the strict constructionist, expanded the presidency more than anyone before him. If you think the demands of leadership outweigh ideology, hit like and subscribe to see how he handled the biggest land deal in history. Jefferson's greatest achievement began as a crisis, when Spain secretly ceded the vast Louisiana territory back to France, now under the rule of Napoleon Bonaparte. French control of New Orleans was an intolerable threat to American commerce. Jefferson dispatched James Monroe to Paris to join Robert Livingston. Their instructions were to purchase New Orleans and West Florida for a maximum of $10 million. They arrived at an opportune moment. Napoleon, needing funds desperately for war with Britain and having lost his army to a slave rebellion in Haiti, made a stunning counteroffer. He would sell the entire Louisiana territory. Monroe and Livingston quickly negotiated a deal to purchase all 827,000 square miles for $15 million, or roughly 4 cents an acre. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the size of the United States. The deal presented Jefferson with a profound constitutional dilemma. As a strict constructionist, he believed the federal government possessed only those powers explicitly granted to it. The Constitution made no provision for acquiring foreign territory. Jefferson was tormented, but his advisors warned Napoleon might rescind the offer. In the end, pragmatism triumphed over principle. Jefferson abandoned the idea of an amendment. He argued that the president, as the nation's guardian, had an obligation to act for the public good. It was a move that expanded executive power in a way that was philosophically more Hamiltonian than Jeffersonian. Jefferson, a man of immense scientific curiosity, commissioned his personal secretary, Captain Meriwether Lewis, to lead an expedition known as the Corps of Discovery, with William Clark as co-commander. The primary commercial goal was to find the fabled Northwest Passage. Secondary goals included documenting the geography, climate, plants, and animals, and establishing diplomatic contact with Native American tribes. The Corps was aided by Sacagawea, a young Shoshone woman who served as a vital interpreter and guide. Her presence, especially with her infant son, signaled peaceful intentions to other tribes. The expedition did not find a Northwest Passage, but it produced the first accurate maps of the American West and documented hundreds of previously unknown species, fueling westward expansion. The conflict over Adams's midnight judges came to a head in the landmark Supreme Court case of Marbury versus Madison. Madison, 1803. William Marbury sued James Madison for refusing to deliver his judicial commission. Chief Justice John Marshall faced a political trap, but found a stroke of genius. He ruled the commission was valid, but that the Supreme Court could not issue the remedy Marbury sought. Marshall declared the part of the Judiciary Act of 1789 that granted the Supreme Court this power to be unconstitutional. In doing so, he established the monumental principle of judicial review, the power of the federal courts to declare legislative and executive acts unconstitutional. This decision was the final, crucial step in establishing the judiciary as a truly co-equal branch of government, completing the system of checks and balances. Jefferson's second term was plagued by the British practice of impressment. the kidnapping of American sailors from U.S. ships to serve in the Royal Navy. The crisis peaked with the Chesapeake Leopard affair. Committed to avoiding war, Jefferson pursued a different path, persuading Congress to pass the Embargo Act of 1807, a radical experiment in peaceable coercion. The act prohibited all American ships from leaving for foreign ports. The policy was a catastrophic failure. The embargo devastated the American economy, bringing shipping-related industries in New England to a standstill, while Britain remained largely unaffected. A political disaster for Jefferson, the embargo was repealed just days before he left office. Its one positive result was that the scarcity of British manufactured goods stimulated the growth of domestic industry in New England. Jefferson was an intellectual giant, a skilled architect who designed Monticello, an inventor of the swivel chair, and a passionate student of philosophy and science. Yet, he remains one of America's most contradictory figures. He was the eloquent author of the Declaration of Independence, yet he was a lifelong owner of hundreds of enslaved people. Modern DNA evidence strongly supports the long-rumored claim that he fathered multiple children with Sally Hemings, an enslaved woman at Monticello. Jefferson's presidency embodied the core conflict between ideological purity and the pragmatic demands of leadership. He fundamentally expanded the nation's territory and set the precedent for future presidential action. Jefferson's policies created the economic and foreign policy crises that his successor, James Madison, would inherit. Our next video is part 4, James Madison, Mr. Madison's War. Question for the comments. Did Jefferson's huge purchase of land justify ignoring his strict constructionist principles? Was the expansion worth the constitutional bending? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.